Warming up.
Oops, I'm reading Empire.
We're just warming up, but we will officially start very soon.
Yeah, and now we're in the mad dash to like reshare links.
No one currently in the chats.
Okay, this is time, this is time.
I'm seeing the horse song again.
Yeah, because essentially your Google Opera thing, it's just singing horses,
Exactly.
but fancy. See, that's why you like it.
Yes. We need to make a duck version.
No, we don't need a duck version.
Duck, duck, goose.
Oh, interesting.
What?
No, it's just like I didn't have to hyphenate breaking up. I don't know why I hyphenated it. I shouldn't have hyphenated it.
Mm.
And now Grammarly is getting mad at me for hyphenating it. Wow, 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 wow. Hooah. Tired. But tired because it's starting with a heavy work. So, if you are on the stream, do say hello, although it looks like no one is. Do people not want to cover this? I totally understand today. We will blame Anonicat. That's literally how this person signed their name. Where is that? There. Anonicat.
Interesting.
Wanted to be anonymous, and I don't know.
Hey,
Legend
RJ.
Curious Cat. Hey, RJ. Welcome.
You are first in the chat.
Bye, bye, bye. Hang on. Ready for some chat.
I sent him a.
Oh my god, you said a dab. Oh, but then the label of the emoji is elbow cough. But he looks like he's dabbing.
I know. It's crazy, isn't it? Okay, let's do this one. This one is. What does it say there? Elbow bob.
Oh. Oh, RJ meant to say, I love your shirts. Aw.
Oh.
Well,
so
we
you don't
still love you.
us.
Oh, boy.
Hey, Karen.
Hello, Karen.
Karen's on Facebook. Hey, Kenny. I'm so sad. This is my topic. Oh, so you're Anonicat.
You're a nonicat?
Pawi pa lang ako and your bat is 2%.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Ask someone beside you if you can buy their power bank.
Wow, it's not even pwede makicharge. Can I buy your power bank? Why not? Well, Kenny, we will have much to discuss after the episode. And like, why did you suggest this? That's all right. People have different things. We'll try to keep it Baduy Pride-ish in the way we handle it. But yes, Karen, it does feel like a somber topic. So we start with a smile.
When you're feeling somber, switch the E and R and add an O, so it's a sombrero. It doesn't work.
I'm trying to figure out your letting everything. It's like, hey, Jed, we saw your DJ post. You didn't have to cite Baduy Pride, but we appreciate
We do appreciate that.
the mention. Noel tends a topic. We are too, but you know, I think we can. I think we can Baduy Pride it.
Noel
we
is tense. Sa topic.
I don't know. Toby's trying to increase his pun level to a dangerous level.
Is it dangerous enough to be the topic?
Toby's punning.
Ayan, Noel, sabi na ni Karen, kaya mo yan.
Hello, Urim.
Hey, Urim. 1 more minute, and we will start.
Well, for the people that are here, remember, tomorrow, we won't be talking about something so somber. We will talk about Omar.
Which, in a way, still feels somber.
Noel, you have to share. Watch, listen. That's fine, Noel. I hope some of you still comment. Can this not be 30 minutes of us just, you know, talking to the screen? But yeah.
But yeah, it is 9:10, so we should start. This is Toby.
And this is
And
Rocky.
if it's your first time here, welcome to Baduy Pride, a little space on the internet where we talk about anything we want.
This is completely unscripted and not entirely accurate, but at least it's honest. Join us as we talk about everything and anything random live.
And if it's not your first time here, thank you so much for joining us again. It's our 110th episode.
Ooh, and that may be an important episode if you're like obsessed with base 10. So
And today's topic is quite a somber one.
Yeah.
Sent in by Anonicat.
Anonicat, who is guilty that he cannot watch the stream right now. But maybe he will catch up. But yeah, so it's the one about breaking up. The specific wording of the topic was breakups and ending relationships romantically and platonic.
And that's the direction we plan to take this episode. We won't focus just on
Romantic.
romantic relationships. We'll talk about any relationships that come up and we'll connect to. It's all about finding that, well, I guess you could say first realizing if you're at that moment
Mm-hmm.
and then coming up to the point of talking about it
Okay.
and finally how to do it and what to do after doing it. Sounds good enough?
I guess. Yeah, that's Toby's instant outline. Ring.
That's because we're out. So,
I don't know what's happening. I don't know why Toby is punning this much. It's dangerous.
Because it's a dangerous topic, so we have to keep it light.
We're bordering on a Pierce Anthony book. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. What's our first part? How do we recognize when it's time?
So first let's have a box for the different categories. So we have romantic relationships.
Yes.
We have non-romantic relationships, which we will further unbox to. We have family, because sometimes you have to break away from family.
Okay.
We have friends.
You unbox very weirdly.
Yeah. They're all in a giant box. So I put it.
And you're putting them in the box?
But yeah. So there's family, there's friends, there's work.
Yeah, professional relationships.
And
Or even just the job itself.
other responsibilities in general.
Okay, yeah. I mean we'll see. We'll not be too hammered in by this, but okay. Move the camera. Okay.
Kenny mentions, will you guys talk about when couples or common friends split up? Yeah, I think we'll touch on that as well.
Yeah. Well, I think I had once upon a time I had a blog about that. Anyway.
And we did sort of touch on that in an earlier episode about, what if it's a breakup and people are like from different camps of
Oh,
friends.
yeah. So okay. So what are like
Hey, Jay.
I guess I want to start with like, a lot of relationships can keep going as long as people keep putting in the work. And that's not a bad thing. But I guess the time to recognize if you really shouldn't is, I guess, I think I'll go back to like when we talked about dating and relationships and whatnot and thinking about your non-negotiables,
Yes.
your core principles. And when those keep getting compromised or those require you to keep just accepting the hit, so to speak,
Mhm.
then maybe as this happens enough, it really becomes a serious topic for conversation.
Mhm.
This is not to say that uh, if it just happens once, then it's over. I mean, it really depends on you and your comfort level
Mhm.
and how you feel.
And it's not to say that because it happened, you must break up.
Yes, yes. I'm definitely not that kind of a person.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, I mean, this depends on your value system, of course, and
Mhm.
what are your core principles. But it's different stroke for different folks. I mean, some people, for example, think like maintaining a dating app is like a breakup offense,
Mhm.
where others it's just chill. So it really depends.
And then you could go to the complete opposite end of the spectrum, where in the moment it gets physical and someone hits the other, get out. But then some might say,
Never hit
no,
me.
that could happen because of temper, and I still want to give it a chance. And again, we're not the people who will tell you if that's a point of breakup or not.
Yeah.
We are only the people who tell you it's time to think about it because that's your decision to make with that other person.
And then I think for what it's worth, I mean, like whenever we've given counsel to a few friends here and
Mhm.
there, and my first question is always, do you still love the other person?
Mhm.
And in truth, the answer is rarely no.
Yes.
And then the next question I normally
Sorry, that was confusing. The answer is rarely no. Yes. Sorry.
And then-
You're right. There you go. You're right.
and then the next question being, but then do you still want to work through this? It's like, because it will take work, and it's a conversation. It's a difficult conversation
Mhm.
that you're bound to have, and then maybe you'll come up with a resolution, maybe not. It may not be a conversation that fixes everything in one night. It may take several discussions, but
Mhm.
whatever it is, if you reach a point where that communication process breaks down, then it's seriously time to think about getting out.
Now, I will have to add that you have to also take caution in taking note of the fact that despite it ultimately being your decision meaning yours and whoever the other person is, or
Plural you.
or the other relationship is, because we're not talking about solely romantic relationships.
Yes.
You should not be completely deaf or blind to when others are starting to state the obvious that you're choosing to ignore. So it's
how
possible.
so?
So let's say it's possible that you really care for the person, you do still love the person, and it's always an unfair relationship, or it's always you making the adjustments. And fine, you have every right to say, I want to give another chance, I want to give the person more time. But if it's like the third or fourth time your friends are now warning you, oh, it's happening again,
Mm.
then maybe it's about time that you should reconsider being still the one who always has to make the adjustment. Which brings me to, I guess, in terms of the questions you brought up, I would add the third question: are you still being fair to yourself?
That's an important question.
Because it doesn't matter if you love the person and if you still want to make it work. But if you realize it's not fair to you, then that's a big, big problem. Because let's say you do give it a chance and keep it happening and it's still not fair to you, then the other person feels, okay, this is acceptable.
Indirectly.
I don't have to change anything. And then when the problems crop up again and you bring it up, when the person says, well, why are you complaining now? You'll have to realize in many ways it's because you allowed that to be acceptable.
Yeah, indirectly by not complaining before or not really saying much, then you sort of indirectly it's a weird sin of omission thing. And the same thing, like suddenly when you put it in that context, like if you apply this whole thing to a work relationship or a job in itself, like do you still love your job? You still want to do it? And then but then are you still being fair to yourself? If the job gets abusive and like takes up so much of your time and you're not getting adequately compensated for this, you're not getting paid overtime or something, and they're always making you work overtime. I mean, same thing. Then maybe it's time to think about, is that work situation still fair, no matter how much you like what you're doing? And I know a number of people, especially creatives, because there's so much of their passion tied into the work. and sometimes they kind of hand wave the fact that the working conditions aren't great because they like the kind of things they get to create. So it's still important to be fair to yourself, regardless.
So yeah, so those are the three.
Heavy.
So those are the three heavy questions that you have to, really consider when you go through any moments wherein you're not sure if you want to keep having this relationship you have with whatever that other party is. And it can even be tricky when it comes to family,
Ooh,
because with family, you're not necessarily dealing with differences of personalities. You might be dealing with differences of how people were raised.
Generational differences.
And, for example, parents, grandparents, or people who happen to have parents who were much older than others. Like I remember I had a friend whose parents were pretty much old enough to be my grandparents because, he was like the last of 12 kids.
Whoa, okay.
Yes, those kinds.
That's like 2 basketball teams.
But, then you'll have conflicts wherein you'll realize it feels unfair or it feels like it's not healthy, but they can't really change. So it becomes very hard so will you still be okay with it, or will you realize you'll have to make changes? And that brings us to the second part, which is once you've come to certain decisions of needing to change where things are, you have to realize it's not something you'll need, or it's not something you should face alone. It's not something you make a decision on alone. You can choose to just leave and, the hell with it and all that. But I personally feel that's a very immature way to do it. It does happen. It's an easier way to do things sometimes. But to the very least,
you come home and like, all this stuff is gone. What the hell?
There is that need to make sure that you at least explained why you are choosing to do this, because you deserve that. The last thing you want is when you have no longer allowed yourself to be in that situation, the other person has no idea, and worse, they'll come up with reasons. And as much as they might still come up with reasons.
Yeah, but at the very least, I'm always good for a clean exit. And then like same thing with work, especially.
Yes.
I mean, like the equivalent is going a wall and just like
So be
leaving,
professional.
or the immediate resignation, which is shaky. It's not the great exit. But it happens. But at the same time, it doesn't look good, and then it's really not professional in that degree. And then in all cases, it's like it's good if especially if when you go back to romantic or even just good friendships, if you became friends for a reason, if you became boyfriends, girlfriends for a reason, then you don't want to exactly like just push that aside and like say that person is worthless. That breakup discussion, and if it's no longer like there's no longer a way to fix things, then at least there should be a clear understanding of why it's ending, because it's that whole other form of ghosting, so to speak. Right?
It's the more mature way to do things. It's the more professional way to do things, and I'd like to think it's the fair thing to do for yourself, because if you've been enduring the situation, or maybe you weren't even aware you were enduring it, but you were always what's the word? Parang ikaw lagi nag-a-adjust. After doing that for all that time,
conditioned helplessness.
Yeah, but after doing that for all that time, if you finally choose you've had enough, then you should have the right to state why, because it's you reclaiming this is what I deserve. This is what I should be getting, or this is what I
it wasn't
need
happening here.
Yes. And that in many ways is a step in reclaiming your sense of self and your sense of power. Did we jump a step?
I don't know. We generally like. I don't want to dive into the how to fix it. Like,
Yes.
right? Like the assumption is that you at least thought about the reasons why you're
Or
unhappy,
you at least
or that
tried to fix it
you
already.
tried to fix it. Then we assume that you're already having it. But at least what we're saying is have the conversation.
Yes.
And like tell the company why you're leaving. Serve out your notice period.
Mhm.
It's just It's just the right thing to do.
Um, you might find alternative ways to maintain the relationship, meaning you do end the existing relationship, but you redefine it in a way that's more acceptable. So, for example, maybe with family that you really can't live with, then maybe it's time to move out.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe just because you move out, it doesn't mean you're disowning them.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
could still be connected to them, and now you have the power to say, I won't visit you
I'm
now.
going home.
I'm
yeah,
gonna visit.
I'm not gonna be here for Chris. I'll be here for Christmas, but not for New Year's.
Or basically, I'll visit when I also want to.
yeah,
I understand now that I'm an adult, and my obligations to you as family is, not necessarily just to do whatever you want.
and I've actually seen some people who are having like trouble with family. Their
Mhm.
relationships actually improve when they move out because then there's that distance, and then
Mhm.
everybody gets a different perspective of each other.
Everyone has more space of their own. so
Yeah,
to speak.
yeah. I mean, they do say that there is a common line about familiarity breeds contempt,
Mhm.
and there is that you can get on each other's nerves just by living in the same household, and that's why
Hey,
even
Mitch.
for even for
Hey, Andre.
groups of friends or even getting into a relationship, moving in together is a big thing because
Yes.
as much as you think that you're like super close friends and then you spend a lot of time with together, but you've never really like lived with a person
Mhm.
and then observed all their weird quirks and behaviors at
Mhm.
home. So yeah, things different. So
Mm. On
yes,
on working relationships, it could mean maybe you leave the company, but then you could tell them, I actually still liked working. I just, I let's hypothetical situation. Um, I commute 3 hours to go to work every day. I can't do this anymore. It's
yeah.
not healthy
So
for
it's
me.
not about the job; it's really just the travel.
But I love the work, so I have to resign unless can you offer me a work from home situation or a remote work situation?
Mhm.
Because if they say yes, then maybe that helps, change the relationship into one that's better for
If you're
both.
honest about why
Mhm.
you're leaving, because I mean, in the Asian, I would dare say the Asian context, but maybe it's just the Philippines. So many people will just say that the reason for resigning is
Oh.
personal reasons, and then like that doesn't do me anything.
Often that's because they don't want to,
Yeah, you don't want to talk about why you're really leaving.
or because they already applied somewhere else.
But even
Um,
then, like it's the same thing. Like, it's you just talk about it and like
mhm.
explain to the company why you're going out. Then it may not be fixed for you, but maybe they can address the problems for someone else. Exit interviews are valuable HR data.
And when it comes to those type of conversations, it might help to realize that it's not about assigning blame.
Mm.
These exit interviews, to use that for
Ooh.
all relationships, are not about kasi you didn't do this or you didn't do that. While that's still a valid thing to bring up, a more, I guess, mature or professional way to do things would be to at least cite why you would rather move on rather than what the other failed to do.
You didn't buy batteries.
Hmm?
I forgot to remind you to buy batteries at the grocery today. What are you doing?
No. But I do. I just haven't put them in.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we have 10. Yeah. Oh wow, this is like super all the weird angles.
This
man.
is just a no.
I think it has a screw, so I can't do it right now.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, it's one of those. They kind of made it child safe. In other words, to be safe. So I need a screwdriver.
Yeah, people are commenting on Tube Guy being tired, and then RJ shares about his breakup. There were a lot of things unsaid, and it was
Mhm.
the worst because the guilt and regret and the wondering.
Yes, exactly.
Too many questions that you're left with, and it's why people don't like ghosting in general.
Mhm.
Ghosting tends to be applied to like only in the dating phase, like you're talking to someone, then they go
Mm.
cold. But same thing at the end of a relationship, right?
Mhm.
So
I'd even dare say that um, I think there were many breakups there were many near breakups, or there were many conflicts that didn't reach a breakup because of the exit interview. because it
That conversation.
because it allowed them to suddenly wait. We can be this open about things,
Mm-hmm.
and when they started talking more, okay, so now suddenly this feels so stupid a reason to break up because we can talk about it,
Yeah.
and it's a learning experience. It's not an embarrassing thing to think about. It's just um that quote I keep stating: if breakup is already the possible ending you're thinking of anyway, then what's the shame in bringing up something you're afraid of talking about?
Yeah, and we've said this before. We've had
Mhm.
more than our share of heavy conversations that could have been the end of
Mhm.
this, and then we wouldn't have Baduy Pride. But then, what is that face? Over, no, and but it didn't, and that was lucky for us. And it, yeah, there is that when you're standing on the brink, and then
Mhm.
you same thing like if to bring it always in that other context. If you're bringing about work, I mean, then there are cases that is that the problem, and then we want to fix it because
Mhm.
you're a valuable resource, and then maybe you get moved, maybe you get uh you know it could just be change in pay,
Mhm.
whatever. But I mean, there are many
And
things.
admittedly, a lot of times it's because it is honestly blindness.
Mm-hmm.
The other person is not aware. The boss did not realize you were hoping to get either more responsibilities or explore a different avenue. And then that blindness, again, can only be resolved through conversation because we are not psychics.
Yep.
Urim also shared, my exit in conversation took a lot of sessions. They may take many sessions. They might even be sessions that continue after you've broken up.
Mm-mm.
Only because,
You're still resolving
mhm,
things.
and yes, it can be a breakup wherein you don't want to have anything to do with the person anymore. And that's fair. That's fine. But if that's not what you want as an end goal, that's why many sessions may be required.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're turning yourself into a total stranger to that person, I think it's quite understandable if there are many more conversations to follow in understanding where things went. And part of that maturity is realizing we're not trying to fix things anymore, but we're at least trying to understand what happened.
Yeah, yeah, and trying to like be civil moving forward and
Mhm.
still possibly be friends, but we'll see.
In many ways, that's even healthy for you both.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's growth. It's character development.
Mhm.
Karen asked quickly, like, what about breakups with text or phone? I think it adds insult to injury. It happened. Well, I always say that reflects on the person texting than more than anything
Mhm.
else. And yes, I agree that it's not. It's definitely not good form. I mean,
Yes.
like, no matter how emotional things may be, or like how hurt the other person might be, then, but I still think there's value in talking about it. And there's so many ways to talk still.
Yeah.
So
So,
Yeah.
full disclosure, just to give a perspective of how growth does happen or can happen.
mm,
I was a stupid younger person at the time wherein I broke up with someone on their debut.
yeah,
Because I had
I got to know this story.
because I had the mistaken mindset of, at least it's in person and at least I'm being honest. But there is a proper place, a proper time.
The first two statements were still true. The setting and the situation, not the greatest.
Exactly.
Really should have done it before the debut.
Or much, much after.
Maybe, yeah.
But not during, because this was literally as I was handed one of the 18 roses
Oh my
to
god.
dance with her in front of the family. Yes.
Wow, Toby.
Stupid.
That's a dick move.
That was a dick move. But you learn, you grow. And I guess going back to what I wanted to connect with, so breaking up from text, through messages, I'm sure some of you have probably done it. I would not be surprised if some of you felt that was the best way to do it because
You're so hurt,
or
you're
I
so
don't want to go
angry.
through the
Yeah,
emotional
maybe.
burden.
I mean,
I don't want to see the person anymore. And
I mean,
that's
to be
fine.
fair, there are some transgressions which
Mhm.
are super, 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 super heavy and
Mhm.
like possibly criminal. That would justify like maybe you really should keep your distance. That the relationship is that toxic.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, but if there is, if it's not that terrible, then try to talk. Try
Mhm.
to talk. Okay. Mitch also asked, will the 5 whys also be applicable for breakups? I think the five. I mean, sort of root cause analysis tools like the 5 whys can have value. It really depends on your comfort level, and some people like don't like it. I don't know. So if you want a fishbone diagram it, if you should break up, that's sure all these things.
So for those who don't know, what are the 5 whys?
No, it's just asking why 5 times. Until
Really?
you,
It's literally just why.
yeah, yeah. Because like, why you want to break up? Oh, because he said ganyan. But
Why?
why ganyan? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that
Okay.
it's a
Oh,
root cause process.
I thought it was like those the 5 why,
like a journalistic article.
or like the what's that thing with the public government non-government group thing. Does it hurt anyone? Is it for the
Are you
betterment?
talking about the 4-way test of the Rotary Club?
Yes. I thought it was something like that. I don't know. That's why I asked. See, there are no stupid questions, only stupid people. And that's me. I honestly was wondering.
David helpfully shares why.
And the last one is the exasperated. Why?
So, but yeah, so whatever works for you, that's fine. Andre asking, any discussions of exes? I think we've said this before that we're not going to talk about them because they don't have consent to be discussed on the show. So that's not fair. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, let's say then the breakup conversation has already happened. What's next?
Irreconcilable.
I mean,
I was about to say differences, but differences isn't the word I want because there is the possibility of changing the relationship, but still being connected. So I guess irreconcilable matters regarding the relationship.
Okay.
Then maybe it's time to decide how or what you want the new relationship to be.
Mhm.
Will you be strangers? Will you be friends? Will you be in a truce mode until a certain period because you have to move out, because you have to disentangle your lives from each other?
Yeah, that takes a while.
Because let's face it, in this day and age, relationships are more than just the state of where you are with each other.
Mhm.
In many instances, it could be circles of friends are part of it, family are part of it. I remember people who they've broken up, but the mom still loves the ex so much, and they're super best friends.
Yeah.
And
I see this
yeah,
happen.
and it's stuff like that which, as the party involved, you might feel, ma, ba't mo pa kinakausap yan? And then what are you saying? Is the relationship now going to strain also your relationship with your mother? So don't rush it unless it was urgent.
And then ultimately, I think what's important beyond the
Batteries. Go on.
okay, literally battery though. It's just one. I would cite that I think what's the hardest lesson in all situations, if there is going to, whether it's a change or a complete end, is unlearning the relationship. It's forgetting what things are. It's like it can be things as stupid as you have pet names for each other and unconsciously you automatically call that person by your pet name. Then it's a little weird. But these things take time. You're not just going to erase that behavior entirely.
It could include statuses on social media. Some take offense if you change it too soon.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's because they want time to be able to tell first their closest friends, and it's a lot of little stuff like that, which may or may not matter, but it's good things to discuss and good things to map out. If it's, I don't even think very instant dramatic endings are the best way to go, even if the other one was obviously at fault. It's hard to say, but I think it's always once you're both at a calmer point in time, it would be good to have that discussion. Hence, it may take more than one discussion.
Yeah.
Only because when tempers are high, emotions are intense, it's more often than not any decision making you'll make will be stuff you'll regret.
We're all like creeped up on this side of the camera.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the camera moved and we were
And you were also leaning in. So I was like giving you
okay, so
why were you suddenly a hut?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a that wasn't hot, but then it was a big. It's a complicated process. I mean, oh my gosh, think about it. If the worst happens and Toby and I part ways, he has
Mhm.
no streaming services. Netflix is me, Amazon Prime is me, HBO Go is me, Wow Plus is me. I'm taking the streaming. Things like that. I don't know. I just trying to keep things.
Yeah, yeah. I know. Definitely, you might need time to map things out. For some, it might even be as um, serious as, okay, so the condos in whose name?
Mm-hmm.
Did you share bank accounts? And let's say you didn't share bank accounts, but did you like deposit, all the funds in one area or something like that?
Yeah.
It's stuff that you might want to spend time to look into to carefully weave through. More so if it will involve others. Having a fur kid,
Mm.
it's going to be painful now. Who keeps the child?
Or the pet. Sorry, you cited fur kid, and then suddenly it's the child.
Yeah, but stuff like that. Um,
Don't be afraid to get help. Whether it
yes.
means another family member. I mean, it's like I'm sorry, I keep thinking it's gonna be a very weird analogy, but it's like a duel. 10 dual commandments, guys. You need a second.
Mhm.
Just to help keep things rational. And then sometimes maybe those people will be the ones who'll have to intercede
Yes.
because especially if emotions are still high, then it's hard for you to deal with one another
Mhm.
in a rational manner. I mean, like I would love for everything from the exit interview up until all these uh, division of property type
Mm.
discussions remain calm. But it there will naturally be heated moments. It's good to have support.
To adjust though, real quick, if this was a professional setting, I don't think a second is necessary
Oh, that's true.
unless it was because of something possibly criminal. So, for example, if there was work-related harassment or this and that, then maybe a second would help,
It would mean you lawyering up
or lawyering up or
or
legal
knowing to
matters.
talk to the NLRC
Yeah.
and getting an arbiter. So
But in a
for
work,
analogies,
but on a standard work-related matter, um, it's bad form to course statements through someone else who's not directly
yeah.
in that chain of command.
In
the
that
company.
sense, the analogy breaks down.
Yes, because then you would be seen as someone telling other people who you work with about your personal issues with the company, and then that can be seen as worse
Mm-hmm.
because then now you're bad mouthing company and all this and that.
Mm-hmm.
So just be aware of that. Yeah,
Okay.
lawyering up. On lawyering up, it will always be a tricky thing. The other side can always feel like it's something they'll take offense of.
I mean, I think we'd all like to think of it as being the last resort, whether it's a
Yes.
personal thing or it's a work thing. It always you do want that to be the last resort because
Mm.
when the lawyers get involved, then it tends to like grow on its own, and it's no longer you directly, whatever resolving
And
things.
this isn't to say lawyering up is bad because
Mm-mm.
lawyering up
It's
is
protection.
and it's there are times you'll really need someone who will be able to say the things you're unable to say.
Mm.
But lawyering up in itself is a relationship you should pay attention to.
Mm.
Just because you got the lawyers, you have to make sure you got the ones that would work best for how you want things to go.
Yes, because
Some-
sometimes they'll just wanna go in for the kill.
Yes, some lawyers have a reputation to uphold, or others might want to approach things a certain way, which might be a different stratagem from what you might just want, which is to talk things out. So at least pay attention to that as well.
Random. Every time I hear the word stratagem, I hear Timothy Dalton in Penny Dreadful going wicked stratagems.
That show was good until it went bad.
It just had good dialogue. Okay.
What else? It's good to have friends who are lawyers, so you could at least
Get advice first
yes
before lawyering.
and also get hear from them. Do you think it's time for me to lawyer up? Because they will have a perspective which people like us don't necessarily
Just
have.
make sure that the lawyer hopefully has context. I mean, suddenly you're talking to like, I'm a corporate lawyer who does like contracts.
Or like, and if you do choose to lawyer up, you'll have to be as objective as you can in sharing what you know, because they will need to know exactly what is going on. We've all seen the dramas on TV. Why did you tell me about this and this and that? And if they're going to be fighting on your side, you might as well make sure they're armed with what they need to know. So that's lawyering up. This episode is tough.
Yeah, I mean, like, but ultimately, in theory, you can always see the breaking up as a failure of things, and that's fine. But then also, it's still the two of you doing what is best for both of you.
Yes.
It is still growth for both of you. It is trying to find a new direction, and and it will, like all aspects of a relationship, take a lot of work, a lot of continued conversation. There will be mistakes and misunderstandings along the way, but you try.
In as much as it can be a painful process, in as much as it will be a process that will attack your ego, it will make you question your self-worth. In the end, they are actions that actually help you strengthen them, because it allows you to reclaim your identity, reclaim your time. And everyone has to always remember, regardless of the type of relationship, whether it's working relationship or romantic relationship, probably family is the only one where this statement doesn't apply. But you were always someone before that relationship began.
Yeah.
In the family, it doesn't necessarily apply because
they kind of mostly helped shape you
or gave birth to you in other cases.
Right.
Yeah. So, but given that you did have a life before you got into that relationship, that is a life you can reclaim. That is a life that still is there. And I would even dare say, if you're breaking up and you're realizing you have completely forgotten that you had that life before,
you've lost yourself in the relationship,
then that in itself was a red flag you failed to see.
Because you still have to be your individual self as part of a relationship.
If you've stopped defining yourself as a person in a relationship and only defined yourself as the relationship, then that was a red flag you both failed to see.
Yep. And then, beyond that, it's like, it's a process. It's always a process. Now, Kenny earlier was asking about friends in the relationship. We can't control how people around you respond to an ending of a relationship. And this applies even to things like colleagues at work and members of your team and the like. And ultimately, it is important to remember that this is your decision. And the people who are directly involved in this decision are the actual other people in the relationship, whether it is your boss or your partner or your friend. If it's in all these cases, it's directly just those people. Everybody else is noise. And it's there are a lot of tropes that go around when you see friends dealing with a breakup, and then some feel obliged to side.
Yeah.
And I personally don't always feel this is if because you understand both sides and you have decided that you support the cause of one, and at least it's a more rational
decision. A more informed decision.
If it's just because my friend was originally this one, therefore I will support you to the end regardless of what went on, then it's a little weird.
We're not fans of blind loyalty.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a plus for most people. Wala, they're my tropa, so syempre no matter what, they'll side with me. But bottom line, blind loyalty means they're not even trying to see if you were in the wrong. And I don't think that's healthy either.
Yep.
the fact is people do make mistakes. We all are humans. Well, at least most of us are. I'm not sure about some people. But
Really? We're gonna bring this up. We're gonna bring this up.
no! Hey, I didn't mean you. Of course not. Two batteries. So, no. Seriously though.
We're having a conversation.
See, I lost my train of thought. No. People make mistakes. And if you have friends who don't bother to bring up when they see you're the one who've made the mistake, then for me, that's a slippery slope. You have friends who are not willing to help you become a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not a fan of blind loyalty. I don't believe in basta kami, kakampi kami sa'yo. I understand, no matter what, we'll try to help you and be supportive. Because that at least means you'll do what you know is best for them as well.
At the same time, to be fair, you're not even obliged to disclose to everyone why things are ending.
Yes.
You can just say that things are ending.
And
It's not working out.
It's between us.
Yeah. And then we're gonna move forward and do the other stuff.
Mhm.
So I mean that's a valid angle rather than trying to get the court of public opinion on your side. And that just makes things messier. And it's like lawyering up, but like on social media. We're using social media responses to do it. So
yeah, Karen mentioned, yes, I totally agree with you, Karen.
hating canceling. Yeah.
But there is, I understand the need to bring up or cite or state when someone has done wrong and nothing has been done about it. But I do not believe that we have gotten to a point in our society that the only way to deal with such people is to close all possible doors of
because it's not
becoming better.
It's not a restorative
Yes.
process. It doesn't hold them. It doesn't really hold them accountable or for anything.
And it's even worse when such things are done without the possibility of really looking at the matter more carefully. So I'm not a fan when it happens in that manner. And when it comes to breaking up in a relationship, that tends to be what many do when they just blindly side with one position.
You're vilifying the other person. And it's just so weird because for me, it's like, these are the same people. Like maybe when you're started, they're going to be like hashtag relationship goals, hashtag, oh, sana all. And then later on, I mean, they'll say, yeah, they're super perfect. And then when things go bad, they're like, oh, I never liked them. And like, whoa, where were you? It's like, what's all this? It's just strange. And for me, and this I speak from direct experience. And then because some people will just choose not to understand both sides, then maybe they're really not your friends. Maybe you're just good acquaintances. And then life is long enough for you to focus on other people that matter more. So you can also divest yourself of these people and just move forward. I don't see a point in like arguing your case with everyone, trying to convince them. Because then again, you're playing this weird tug of war. Then you want them to be your friends and not the other side's friends. And then it's just gonna blow up bigger and like, oh, why'd you tell him this and why'd you tell him that?
Yeah.
So it's just me, it's just like out of sight, out of mind, guys. Just move on. Just move on.
So for workplace relationships, it's really tough.
Yeah, because you are there.
And in more cases than not, your relationship with work is not a personal one, first and foremost. It's work. You're there to work. You're not there to be the best friend. You're not there to be close buddies. You're there to work. And when that bottom line is affected, then it affects the work. It affects your relationship with your boss or your relationship with the company. And that's what many people, they sometimes villainize it in the sense that, oh, the only thing that matters is the bottom line. First and foremost, it is about the bottom line. It's work. If you were co-owner of the company, then maybe it shouldn't be just about the bottom line because you're
setting the tone, the culture, the objectives.
It's your company too.
Yes.
But if
it's your company, not ours.
But if you're just an employee, the fact of the matter is you're there because you
are there to fulfill a very specific role in a
and get
larger
paid
plan.
for that role.
Yeah.
So if you start involving other people in it, then you're breaking that relationship. You're now rumor mongering, or you're now making things complicated. It becomes now a larger HR nightmare and all that.
You're trying to all leave at the same
Mhm.
time and like, oh, guys.
So that's a very different expectation compared to, let's say, if you and three friends decided to put up a company, and then let's say a few months in you realized, oh my god, why am I doing this?
Cannot work with these people.
Yeah, now this is a relationship where, like what we've been discussing, communication would be more important.
Mhm.
Discussing things would be more important, because it's not just you getting paid. It's about you having promised that part of your life is to make this company work. So it is a relationship. It is a marriage in its own way.
Ooh, Karen nicely cites. As for work, sometimes you get a rep in the industry as being difficult to work with, and it makes applying for a job complicated.
Yes.
Yes. What you do in one company can travel. Just
Mhm.
because you leave it off your resume doesn't mean people aren't going to figure out you work there. And so and that's why you all have to keep things professional. And then the same way with personal relationships. Again, if you're the person who just burns bridges, proclaims everything on social media,
Yes.
then who's to say that it's not going to happen for your next relationship?
Mhm.
And then anyone you're with, it's like, ooh, weren't you the guy who had the Facebook meltdown or something? Or like,
And
it's yeah, reputation is
yeah,
dangerous.
and with all that, it's not about just having a false face.
Mm.
It's about it's about being a person who is, at least, if even if bad stuff is spread out, because ultimately there are people who will
Yeah.
badmouth you no matter what.
Mhm.
But if you are irreproachable, if you are still seen by others, that you apply, this guy who you formerly worked with is spreading lies about you, but then they go, actually no, he's not like that. She's a good worker. She focuses on the job.
Mhm.
Then you at least have good voices that are telling the truth, because you are showing that truth. So
Mhm.
that's something that you have to, trust in and believe in, because lies, again, are easily spread by people who will want to destroy or malign you. Don't give them more ammunition to use against you.
Yep.
Worse if it's ammunition that you honestly did.
Yeah, there is that goofsies.
Diba? If you, like, on social media, say blah 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 blah. Then if they say, magulong tao yan, they'll ruin your company. I'm sorry, you just provided proof that you're that type of a person.
Yeah. These things carry on. And then, like, especially now. I mean, like, social media wasn't really a big problem 10, 15 years ago, where, yeah, when bad things happen, it's harder for us to find out from the next one.
Mhm.
But then more and more, it's like, and we all do it. Like, someone's applying, someone's joining the company. Ooh, I'm going to Google this person and see what they've been doing and what they post about.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we're in this weird ecosystem where everybody, to some degree, is a content creator. So be
Yes.
careful what you put out there. And there is an appropriate time and place for everything, which includes also choosing what to discuss on social versus what to keep to yourself.
So let's now move on to the aftermath.
Ba-ba!
You've chosen to redefine your relationship, whether it's none or changed. What are things to consider? What are things to think about? I think one of the first things, and this tends to happen with relationships that were romantic, you have to set down the ground rules. Because, I'm sorry, a lot of sex with exes does happen, because it's hard to disentangle yourself from those emotional attachments. Those intimate connections are deep. They really run deep, and they become second nature to some extent.
Yep.
So they're not something you can rationalize away. So you will both have to, okay, we have to be clear, we have to stop this, because you'll both feel the temptation to still do that.
Yeah, it's weird, but it happens. And then distance helps. I will definitely say distance helps, because, like I said, you need to unlearn. And it's hard to do that when you're still in a shared space. And I know it's not easy. It will take time to extricate and get out. But maybe it could be as simple as just getting out first and then figuring out the rest of your stuff
Yes.
over time.
Hmm.
But you need distance.
And with that distance is the understanding of space.
Mm-hmm.
I know of instances where in some exes, they still go in the unit without calling beforehand because dyan din naman ako nakatira dati.
Yeah.
And those can just be small moments of microaggressions.
Mm-hmm.
So better you clear that out early on. You know, like maybe you develop a system wherein if anyone's visiting or if anyone's going to call, they have to message first. That way, the other person has time to mentally prep themselves.
Yeah.
To we've come to a point in time wherein back in the old days, you get a
Of
call
your-
and it's a call. It's
And you-
nothing
and you answer the call and
If-
it's fine.
when you want to, or you just
Yeah.
let it ring. Now, because of the way the world works and because we have our portable devices, the moment you get a call, it feels stressful. It feels tense building because suddenly I have to answer this because I can't not answer it. They know I carry my phone, and it has all these additional stressors, which you will be juggling in addition to the fact that you're dealing with a breakup.
Mm-hmm.
So consider having a system wherein, o sige, para it's fair to both sides, let's promise to message muna na I plan to call or ganyan-ganyan. Para if it's not convenient, pwedeng pag-usapan na maayos. Ganun. It's stuff like that. It's learning to reinforce that you are both now dealing with the relationship in a different way.
Yeah, and it'll be a lot of steps. It'll be a lot of like creating new rules, interim rules as you progress through extricating and then disentangling and stuff. I mean, like it's definitely obviously there's really more on the personal side of things. When you quit, it's just serving out your notice period and clearance, and then you're kind of good.
Yeah.
But
because work might have that, you left your stuff, so mababalikan mo pa ba yun? Most likely they throw it out.
yeah. If you leave anything beyond your last day of work, assume it's gone. They are not obliged to keep it.
Yeah. And that's not a personal attack or anything either. You left it as far as they're concerned. Maybe you didn't care about it, so they'll dispose of it.
And then you'll see it on someone else's desk. Reappropriation in the area. So, but yeah. So,
with family, it's tricky because those new rules again will be hard to redefine. More so if people have grown up being used to a certain thing. So, like for example, for some who have moved away from their parents because they want to now live as independent adults, there will be a lot of emotional guilt trips. There will be a lot of paranig statements, and you have to realize that they're not necessarily attacks. Some might be, but they're more attempts to state, am I still important to you? Am I still part of your life?
You just have to reassure them and then reinforce what you are still going to do.
Because they will be looking for that reassurance in the way they used to get it.
Yeah.
And you're now having to go through the hoops to help them understand that they will now receive it a different way.
Mitch nicely shares, resignation day is also pamana day. Yeah, which is like some people like
you can have this.
Yeah, there are things that you don't really like. They're just your office things, and you don't want to bring them home. And like, yeah, that's totally valid.
Yes.
I know that. My pamana would include like some of my in-out trays and you want my stapler? Stapler. But no,
Yeah.
I like my stapler. I brought my home.
When I did resign before, I did give away some of my desk stuff.
Yeah, it's like because you
'Cause I
don't
brought down
need
that
another
box.
one. Yeah,
I just
yeah.
brought-
But I like my stapler. I brought it home. Yeah, and then beyond that, it's just like there is no right time in times of relationships, like trying to find a way forward. There is no right time for wafam. You've gone from being partners to exes to friends. It really depends on the two of you and what went on and stuff. And I'm not gonna say there's a set period or milestone that you can measure against. And then, but for me, at least me personally, it's like distance helps first, and then maybe you can talk. And like, so like, you may need to go as far as like, I don't know, Some people need to block on social. That's possible.
Mm-hmm.
Some people just mute, like you stay friends, but then you're muted so that you don't see his
Mm-hmm.
updates and you don't get that regular bombardment, which is also
Mm-hmm.
a valid strategy. I mean, there are different approaches. Some people deactivate their own social
Yes.
and be the ones to withdraw and not
Mm.
deal with things. All valid approaches.
I might even offer that because what worked for me was, the moment you break up, the biggest attack will be, at least in my perspective, what I went through was questions like, what did I do wrong? Am I worth
Mm.
it? What could have I done to keep it from happening? Or how did I let this happen? And a lot of that is very ego oriented because your ego is still wired to thinking you are the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You are nothing without it. And that's the large part of what you need to relearn and reassess. So if you think about it, how in many stories, breakups lead to the guy starting to go to the gym more and stuff like that. Those are actually healthy ways to rechannel your focus and your thoughts
On yourself.
on yourself, because now you're telling yourself, okay, I have to be healthy. I have to take care of myself. I'm feeling like I don't have energy. I feel like I don't have the the energy or the will to do anything. The hell with it. I'm gonna do stuff for me. I'm gonna make myself healthier. I'm gonna work out. I'm gonna sweat it out. And they might
I'm going to read 365 books this year.
they might not they might not be the things you normally do, and that's still fine, because what you are doing is basically telling your body that I am the brain choosing to focus on me, my body. And with that, you can start making more steps later wherein you start, thinking about your brain as well, thinking about your heart as well. Start, enjoying a movie, not because you think in that relationship he or she would have liked it too, but because you want to watch it. Have that snack because you deserve to eat it. It's reclaiming your sense of identity. It's reclaiming that sense of importance. And admittedly, that process is not an instant overnight thing.
Mm.
For some people, even they might still be going through that already in their next relationship or years after the breakup, and that's fine because it can be hard to, you know, learn to give yourself value.
Yeah, Karen mentions like distractions and escapism. To some degree, I think it's
Mhm.
inevitable, and people want like there's the usual post breakup, let's drink and
Mhm.
things like that. But then at some point, I mean, because of the fact that if you word them as distractions and escapism, then you gotta face stuff, and then
Mhm.
you gotta move forward. And escapism is not gonna help. It's really going to be taking steps on what is the next, day of your life. If
Mhm.
you want to be all corporate about it, what's your 100-day plan for yourself?
Yeah.
It's like, what is it going to be as going through?
It might even be the matter of knowing when you are doing it because you want escape, or if you're doing it because you're now claiming it as something you want.
Yeah, there are
So
some.
maybe in the start, maybe in the grieving process of having lost the relationship, you, let's say, go on, I'll have ice cream every day because, I feel terrible and I just want to have ice cream.
And I was raised on Western
And,
media.
and that's your escapism. But then maybe after, let's say, you've been doing it for a week and you're starting to feel like it's time to reclaim yourself, time to have more power with your own life. Maybe when you get ice cream at that point, you're now realizing it's not because you're just escaping from the pain, but because, okay, I enjoy ice cream. I can enjoy ice cream.
Yeah, I can just like it.
But then that's when you must now be aware, am I always now just getting ice cream because I'm sad? See,
Mm-mm.
and it's that self-examination that gives you more
What
power.
a specific example.
Because it's a common
'Cause-
thing that people do.
Because Toby buys ice cream on a regular basis and he's not sad at all.
But I did have the face of, it was an escapism as well.
yeah.
I would also add, okay, many say that when a person goes through a breakup, they have the slut face, they have the rebound sex.
Okay. Yeah.
Generally, this is seen as unhealthy, but my perspective on it is this. Um, it's healthy because you've been caught up thinking you can only do it because it's lovemaking.
Mm.
But
That you only have sex with that other person.
Yes, but as consensual, mature adults, you must reclaim the fact and proof and truth that sex is sex. And if you're doing it with someone who you can do it legally, properly, with consent with, then do it.
Yeah.
And if it just so happens that means you're doing it with different people, then that's your choice.
I mean, like, I think we had an earlier discussion about that in terms of like, as long as your mutual expectations are aligned and clear. If you both understand that we're just hooking up, okay, then that's fine. Then it's still like a safe thing.
I think the slut face gets a bad rap in the sense that it tends to be done with the other person unaware that they just wanted sex. So they think it's a dating thing, and then bigla na lang they're ghosted and all this and that. Hence the bad rap. But in terms of as the aggrieved person or the one recovering from a breakup, I don't see why the slut face should be a negative thing, unless again you are not doing it with a clear and conscious understanding of why you're doing it.
Yeah, or you're like, I mean, it can be self-destructive under a certain context.
Exactly.
A few interesting things RJ's been posting. One is that he says every mature relationship should permit me time. It makes reclaiming or reinventing of oneself easier after breakup. That's true. When's my me time? When you go to the grocery. But I'm working.
I don't know.
No, we have me time. We just happen to be in the same room.
I think
that's why we chat each other.
I think part of your me time is your routines.
Yeah, that's true.
When you have your dailies that you go through.
My workout, pacing the house.
Yeah, because I can't, I can't interfere with those. That'll mess up your routine. That'll mess up your, and it's your sweet spot.
Are you calling me obsessive? Because I kind of am sometimes, but.
I did say it.
RJ also posted, love the relationship you're in, but love your identity and self-worth just as much, if not more. Absolutely. Again, you are individuals who come into the relationship and not just like, you are not just the relationship.
And you have to keep in mind, when things were still good, that person fell in love with you, not with the relationship. The relationship didn't exist then.
Yeah.
So that's the person you must still, reclaim.
Mitch cites, hope it's not the same thing for cakes.
I did have a cake face.
Okay.
I had 8 different cakes.
Definitely relied on friend support. That's fine. And then, we all have those friends who are like, distraction time. They will actively contribute to your escapism. But then they know because, you need time to shake it off. You need time to just let it out. So it could be, like Karen said, was asking earlier, it could be grieving. It is in a way because it is releasing that stress, that tension. It's that not carrying the baggage of what led to the breakup anymore and just freeing yourself of that. So all these things. So there's a lot. There's a lot. And, and then you are not obliged to be purely productive in trying to move forward. You don't have to learn a new hobby. You don't have to learn a new language on Duolingo or things like that. I mean, all these things. There are many, many, many ways. But yeah, just know that the escapism can help for a certain time, but then eventually you just need to stop and figure out your actual steps forward.
And your goal in the end after a breakup is actually a new relationship with yourself. So like any relationship, it will take work. It will not be, you wake up and it's there.
Yep.
It will be a lot of effort.
You got to figure out your commitment.
It will be a lot of realizing where you went, what direction you took, and what has to change.
A lot of open and honest communication with yourself. It's admitting, there were certain things you screwed up with, but that doesn't mean that you're a terrible person.
And it doesn't mean you're the only one who screwed up.
Yes. Mitch escaped through traveling. A lot of people do that. The eat, pray, love approach. No, but that's only if you're a rich white woman. So, then. So we all have our escapisms, but we need to help recognize that it has to come to an end. Hopefully, good friends will help you see that, and then that's when it's really that that talk like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It really depends on your friends.
Without reading out loud, Kyron, you shared yours, and I'd like to just add that yes, when you come to the point and you can say older me realizes that was stupid, that was dangerous, that's a good thing
Mhm.
because that means at that as far as that process is concerned, you've hit that achievement. You've realized now, okay, try that. Now I know better. I'm a older person. I'm a better person.
Life is, an ongoing process of
Mhm.
bettering ourselves, and it's easy. It's hard. Well, it's harder to see some of the bad or stupid things we're doing when we're in the middle of it. And
Mhm.
it is the main gift of time and hindsight and reflection
Mhm.
that we realize, ooh, yeah, I was terrible.
And to cite what Noel said, to be able to say sorry to yourself
Mm.
because um, you got hurt too in
Hmm.
everything that happened, and your decisions in some ways was part of the reason you got hurt yourself. So you should learn to apologize and say sorry to yourself as well. It's owning up to what you should own
I don't
up
know why they
to.
made that as a lighter. Okay. Thumbs up. Okay.
Yes. What?
That was a lot.
Yeah,
I
it
don't know
was.
where
It
else we're gonna
was.
go.
It's a lot, but I do hope.
I hope it was still ultimately constructive
Yeah.
and helpful, and they're a good reminder for all of us. And I mean, we're not experts at necessarily
Hmm.
giving professional advice. In the sense, this is just our opinion, but we hope it helps. Ooh, and yes, we always go back to fisties. RG says, once you've been able to laugh at your own breakup, then you've healthily moved on. That is an option.
Mhm.
That is an option. And more important, I think, when you can laugh at your own mistakes, then
Yes.
yeah, then you've really like shaken it off.
Because you've
Yeah.
realized now, okay, that was dumb.
Mm.
God, I did that when I was young.
Mhm.
See, and that's also why I can like openly talk about the stupid stuff I've done before. Because I'm now at peace at having done them. I don't feel like I'm still a terrible person for having done that because I understand I was younger then. I wasn't aware of things as much as I am now.
Mhm.
And that's not to say I know everything now.
Yeah, but at
Excuse
least
me, burp.
you fixed that stuff.
Yes.
So I'm safe on my debut.
How will you have a debut?
Hey, it's modern times. We can do whatever we want.
Yeah, so you're gonna claim you're 18. That's what a debut is, right?
I know. Yes, yes.
Or are we redefining debut?
Why not? Why not, chocolate? Okay, and then the analogy breaks down further. Okay, the only way you can overcome a breakup is when you fall in love with someone else. Um, I don't always think I can't always agree with that. I
Mm.
think you ultimately get over it when you fall in love with yourself.
Yes. And that's not the unhealthy in love with yourself, okay? We're not talking Gaston levels of staring at the mirror and, self-pleasuring. But if you're into that, that's your thing.
Gaston did not do this in the cartoon. What Beauty and the Beast did you watch?
I'm not saying. But yes, once you've learned to love yourself, once you've learned to realize, I'm a catch. I'm me, and someone out there deserves someone as hot as me. Then I think that is a time you can say you've ultimately overcome the hurt you've gone through. And it's going to be a long process. It's never going to be something quick, but it doesn't mean you're not ready to meet new people if you haven't completely gotten to that point.
Mm-mm.
It just means you realize growth has multiple facets. Growth has many phases, many achievement levels to reach, many milestones to accomplish.
Gamification.
I'm,
Analysis,
I'm hitting our other episodes.
Okay.
But yeah, and by as you start to learn and accept and realize that, I hope you find someone who realizes the same things. And when you find that nice match, then you realize it's a good chance to try again.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I really feel like it's just like you gotta. It's when you can fully accept, embrace, celebrate who you are without the relationship. You figure that who that person is. Maybe it's a working process to achieve that concept that you have in your head. But I feel like that's like your most important moving on step.
Happiness is attractive. Confidence is attractive.
I was gonna say this, but okay, you said it. Yay! So
I don't know why I was saying
another
it.
episode that was totally not scripted. Yay! Seriously though, I was gonna.
I don't know why it came to mind. It just came to mind.
I
so
was
said
just going to say it. Maybe I would like to say it with my mouth.
Inception.
Yeah. Mitch was asking, should we consult with Google? Okay.
Google. Hey Google. When do I know if I'm past the breakup?
On the website essence.com, they say, it might be time to break up when those things are no longer true or if you are no longer able to communicate and hear each other. When you spend more time asking for what you need instead of getting it and you see no changes, it's time to go, she continues. To find out more, look for the link in your Google Home or Google Assistant app.
Whoa!
Google is not holding back.
Hey Google, how do you move on from a breakup?
Here is some information from the web that might possibly help. On the website realsimple.com, they say, get it all out emotionally so you can move on. Have your breakdowns, Becker says. Take time to remember the good times, accept and celebrate them for what they were, and allow yourself to cry over it all. If you hold it in, you'll delay the moving on process.
Wow. Hey, we said some of that. So Google Assistant, guys, kind of awesome.
And if it's in Google, it must be true.
Well, it's on the internet. It's not on Google. They're pulling up site references. Okay, but yeah, so that's a lot, guys. That's a lot. But I think, yeah, ultimately, it's still like a restore. It can be a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a good thing. Jed Smelling, Google's be a regular guest. I think so.
Yeah,
too.
I think we're gonna have an ask G every now and then for episodes that warrant it.
Yeah, and this was definitely something. So it's too heavy. Then we're gonna say, "Hey Google, tell me a joke."
Why did the Scarecrow keep getting promoted? Because he was outstanding in his field.
I knew it. It's all puns.
How come you're fine with Google's puns and not mine?
He's a machine.
It's not his
You're
fault.
my partner. you're the things you do reflect on me. You know.
Okay, so I guess to wrap it up,
Yeah, good things, bad things, they all come to an end. But
Mhm.
then it doesn't mean that you stop being you, and that your life has ended because the thing has ended. There's so much more to do, and you just have to figure out that path forward. And it's different for everyone, and whatever context of what breakup we're talking about. If it's a relationship, if it's a personal relationship, it's friends, if it's work, if it's family, whatever. But just always remember that it's not the end. And it's a natural part of the process. Good things start, good things end. It's like shows that have a final season, and then it's not the end of the world. You know, you will just go on and you tell new stories.
Yeah, I would share. I would close with what ended was the relationship. You are still you, and if there's anything that human beings have proven through the many years of, well, centuries of existence, is that the human person, the human personality, is amazing enough to reinvent and redefine themselves when necessary. We've done it to evolve. We've done it to create societies. We've done it in times of great strife, in times of war. Diba? We ultimately will survive and can survive, but we must choose to. And a relationship, as devastating as it can feel, is just a moment now to reinvent yourself and become the person you used to be, but better, because you're no longer burdened by what you used to compromise for the relationship. All right? So I guess that's all the time we have for this episode. It was heavy in some parts, but we still had a lot of fun, and we hope you will join us again next time.
People really want to talk after. We can't drink. It's a Thursday. We have work tomorrow. We have meetings and stuff, and I don't know, guys. I don't know. Let's see. We'll talk. So, yeah. Wrap up.
I said the wrap up spiel already.
I'm sorry. Okay.
It's
Yeah, I
fine.
know.
If you have
If you have questions or suggestions for future episodes, fill up the Google form at bit.ly Baduy Pride Ideas. We'd like to thank Anani Cat for suggesting this topic. I hope we still gave it a decent Baduy Pride spin on it, and it wasn't just depressing. I think we don't necessarily try to be depressing. We just try to be constructive,
Mhm.
helpful, and yeah, and I think we've given this sort of advice to a lot of different friends. So now it's on the internet. Okay.
Mhm.
You can follow us on Twitter, Altobi No Shade, RG Suniko.
You could also check out our blog, baduypride.com, for all the previous episodes and stuff about us.
Hey, feel free to continue the conversation in the comments below. Let us know what are your coping strategies for this,
Mhm.
or what are your best practices for broaching the conversation. How do you conduct the exit interview? I can't believe that is now the euphemism for the breakup talk. Anyway, it's not even accurate. The exit interview happens after you resign.
Yes, actually. But it kind of works.
It kind of helps. It's okay, fine.
So we're now having more hashtags. We have fist kiss, we have exit interview, we have folding laundry.
And then, of course, be sure to subscribe for notifications, whether on Facebook or YouTube, so you don't miss our next live stream. Thanks for joining us, guys. Once again, I'm Rocky.
And I'm Toby.
And this is Baduy
Pride.
Breathe, guys, breathe. Can't believe fist kiss.